Right.
now.
Right.
Whereas we still have others in the office to address, so those budget restrictions, or cutting that budget, we are going to take care of that because we're not addressing all of the problem. We're just dealing with the hemorrhaging, because if we go below a certain amount in our employees and we can't replace them, we will have to react. We can't provide the statutory service. But we realize that there's a larger issue that should be part of the overall discussion of what the county's future is, especially if the commission is going to be considering going through truth and taxation. So that's one of the reasons you have a split approach.
Okay.
I mean, with the original proposals, we could have easily spent over $400,000 just on Chris Allred's department before we even considered public defenders, because this is addressing, I mean, like they
Yeah.
mentioned, they're going to come back with another
Yeah.
phase, and I kept beating them up with that same argument, is like, I don't want to spend ongoing funds, can we buy them off with a one-time bonus till we can get to where the budget hearing, but, so I'm just saying that even this proposal is just the first step of what they're asking for.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah,
Kind of
Step
good
one
news,
of
bad
2 or
news,
3.
yeah.
That's what concerns me, is
Yeah.
I don't know the end game here. And between this and the public defenders, and we're taking care of the low hanging fruit, when we get to the high hanging fruit in, budget session, when we could be really talking some dollars.
well, and unfortunately, I think a lot of this is being driven by the Attorney General's office when they bumped
It
it
is.
up and then everybody else reacted. I don't know what else we do. I mean, I don't know how I can tell Chris he should work here for $20,000 less a year and do slightly more work than he would if he, stayed in Box Elder or something like that. I get it. I don't know what the answer is. We're gonna have to either spend ongoing funds, or we're gonna have to.
Well, and we thought maybe too, okay, the AG's is some distance away. I misspoke I didn't misspoke. We have 2 guys with offers in hand and a third that's actually interviewed with the AG's already. So we actually have 3 people considering jobs at the Attorney
Right now.
General's. Yeah. Now, one of them, I will tell you to be candid, he's a little bit older. So he's not on this list yet, but it's the workload problem still there that we're facing. So I just hope, we're not trying to get fancy or have a lot of fat in the office. It's just the market has become what it is, and we're just trying to keep up.
Where's Davis County?
They're right here on
There,
this.
yeah,
So have they
Davis
made a
County-
change?
yeah, they made a mid-year as well and addressed all their attorneys. They didn't change their pay bands, but they bumped all of them up. So the deal basically is, Chris is right. I mean, if he loses people, there's
Costs
no way
more
to
to
replace
replace
them. Yeah, well, it costs more to replace them in general, just in terms of training and recruitment, but beyond that, I mean, there's no way they would work here when they can work somewhere else when everybody's starting there, so it's kind of a lose-lose situation, no matter what.
One of the arguments, I'm so sorry, Commissioner, go ahead.
So what's your recommendation?
I would do
Sure.
it.
You're for it? Ongoing?
Yeah, I just don't see another way. I mean, all of these agencies moved up, Utah, Salt Lake, Davis, they all moved up to meet the AG's office. We didn't do it. I mean, obviously we couldn't foresee that, but in response to it, so if everyone has moved up and we haven't, there's just no way anybody's going to, I mean, it's hard enough to get people to apply in general, but if we can't provide a starting wage, and you can't provide the starting wage to the new people and not give it to the, you get what I'm saying?
You get
So I
some
don't
weird
know what else to
compression
do.
as you start those-
I understand compression very well. We've seen
Yeah.
that before.
Yeah.
One of the problems we're gonna be facing is if we lose somebody and we have to attract at what that salary was, we might not even be able to get someone who is just barely graduated law school, and so we are going to miss an opportunity to keep somebody who we've trained. We like their work product, we want them to stay with us, to have them leave, and when we might not be able to, even know if we can replace them, there's gonna be a cost in having to get somebody in, get them up to speed. We just won't be able to get back where we were.
Okay, so. Yes, Commissioner Harvey.
Thank you. We hear what you have to say, and there's not a piece of me that doesn't feel like it's valid or worthy. Yeah, I want you to hear that straight up. That day that you first presented this 2 or 3 weeks ago, you were the first of many. It was like wham, wham. We just kept getting hit by things that had to happen right then. Had to happen. So this is basically what this means to us is a truth and taxation hearing. That's all it means. I mean, that's what it is. And so for us, we have to put, I'm gonna be personal here. For me, it puts a truth and taxation hearing right in the wake of my election. So of course, you never have an opponent, so you don't have to worry about it. But I'm, you know, I think it's unfortunately, as bad as I hate it, it's a necessary evil. I don't know what else we can do. The way it's been explained to me, we asked to send them back. They did go back to Sarah, who we trust. They did go back to Scott, who we trust. And as much as I like your idea, it's a one-time funding thing before we get there. I mean, basically, we just get pummeled for a truth and taxation hearing and then go ahead and do it anyway. But it's the right thing to do. I don't know of another choice. I hate this. I
don't know, I don't have another option either. I mean, if I had one, I would give it to you for sure, but I just don't think there is one. I mean,
Well,
unless all these other agencies lower their wages, which they're never gonna do, that there's no alternative.
I'm meeting with you at 4 o'clock today to go over the second quarter financial results. As part of that, I was asked to look at truth and taxation and what cost of living increase would be, whether it's a pay for performance or COLA or whatever. To keep up with social security inflation, they did an 8.7% increase last year.
Who did?
Social security.
Social security.
Okay.
So, you know, if we were to try to do something like that, and I've got some calculations what inflation is, and even the commission has done a lot to give out good increases, but we still haven't kept up with inflation. So if someone working January 1st, 2021, that was making $15 an hour is making less money today in terms of real dollar purchasing power worth the county with the increases that we've given them and what inflation is. So I'm going to show you those numbers. I unfortunately, I just don't know what else to do. I mean, inflation is killing us. It's not killing just us, it's killing everybody.
Yeah, and everybody's got high wages. I mean,
Yeah.
anybody on any team can
Yeah,
go out and make more money somewhere else right now. It's just the way it is.
The only place they can complain about it in public is at the dais in Weber County. That's the problem. The only place, all that stuff that affects them, whether their tires go up, whether their gas goes up, all that stuff that we have no control over, the only place they can complain about it is at the dais at Weber County.
well, in the proposal, I'm going to show you several scenarios that keeps the tax increase below the social security inflation. And I think that's the argument we used last time is we have to keep up, but we're not gonna, if you got an 8% increase, we're not asking for a full 8%, we're asking for something less. So we're always under that social security inflation. That's kind of a political strategy. You'll decide whether that's the right thing or not. I mean, we could spend more than that if you wanted. Now I worry about the previous meeting we just had with what that's gonna be in terms of you add those two increases together. If we have the citizens vote for a tax increase for a geo bond, and then we throw this on there on top of, that's gonna be a big.
It's gonna be a tough one.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think we know that. But we've been upfront with the sheriff with that before, so it is what it is.
And we've tried also, just one last thing, to not be overzealous in our request to really trim it down, to come in under, as in many cases, under the other counties, because we don't want to overdrive the market. We want to see this settle out. And we're just trying to respond in a way where we just don't lose our staff.
Yeah, and I respect that. Well, so I mean, my initial discussion was based on trying to avoid a truth in taxation for a couple reasons. But it appears pretty evident after listening to the experts that that's not gonna happen. So Commissioner Bowles.
Well, if you're gonna do a truth in taxation for anything, it's gotta be for wages. I think it's justifiable and the public understand that. There are those who will always hate public employees. But for those, who know people who work for government and those who respect what's being done for them, I think it's an easier sell.
Okay.
But I agree with Sarah. I mean, if people leave, you can't get them in for that. Well, you can't get new people for that.
And if they don't have the training, I mean, it's just a total nightmare.
Okay.
But
Well,
I think we have to go down that road.
you convinced me. Well, you haven't convinced me, but you've enlightened me.
Make it a valid case.
Not that I'm happy with this, but
that's,
I kind of agree. I was hoping that we could look at an alternative. But at the end of the day, to go one time, unless we're not, I was hoping with one-time money, we could come up with some type of resolution and avoid a truth in taxation. Again, that doesn't appear like that's gonna happen. So,
If it makes you feel better, their numbers actually came in lower than what my numbers were.
really? Yeah, that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
All right, so you okay with this ongoing? At least give me a head nod or something.
I mean, We have no choice. We either trust you or we don't.
All right, there you go.
But I hope, I'll put this. Yeah, it doesn't need to be said.
So I'll just clarify on this, commissioners, the county has enough money to afford $315,000 right now without a truth and taxation increase. The
Right.
truth and taxation increase is gonna be when we have to do the COLA or pay for performance for the county employees as a whole. So it will be a separate discussion, although this is part of it. but we
This
can
is the
afford-
catalyst. This is the nitrous oxide shot that's gonna jet us through it. That's all there is to it, because I'm gonna point back to this all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can use.
And I would expect absolute huge support from the attorney's office with their word craftness and everything else hey, this is what we've got to be able to do moving forward. I mean, that's, sorry, but that's vital.
Well, in talking with Scott Park after our last meeting and that's why, again, we have a phased approach, is that we don't want to play all of our cards right now, is that we need to use the attorney's office, what we're facing, to raise the entire county up. Because you're gonna be getting hit from several departments for some.
We have been.
Yeah, it's just gonna be another example of why I think that we're gonna have to put it forward if the commissioners.
No,
agree.
but we can't, at least I can't in all good judgment, approve this and then not look at another department that has exactly the same issues with their people leaving and not approve that too.
And we'll
Right.
be doing that until the end of the year.
And we'll be doing that through November.
Well, and that's why I've asked you not to do that. I mean, and I realize, I told these guys the same thing. It's like, I've already been in there and asked you not to do that, because how do you stop? Why would you say yes to them and no to public defender?
Okay,
That's, which is one of my reasons I brought up that. We've always been on the basis of let's not do this midterm.
Okay,
But
so the answer is no. Okay, Scott, now what do we do?
So-
The answer is no. Now, how do we rehire? What do we do?
So I agree with you in this case. This is one of the darned if you do and darned if you don't. I don't know what the right answer is. These are both
It's
bad
not
options.
your fault.
Well, I get it, but I mean, I don't want to lose the attorneys. You've got 2 or 3 with offers in hand, and we can't replace them. So I don't know what we do. We have to increase the wage to keep up with that. But with every other department, hopefully it's not as dire of a situation. Hopefully we say, look, yeah, it is bad, but it's not a dire situation. Utah County didn't just raise their wages for roads crews by,
yeah.
In a perfect world, it works. They do it during the budget, right? We move our wages and then we have our market adjustment fund for one-off people when you have a one-person deal.
I agree.
But most of the time it happens like that. We have one person, we have a problem,
two.
and there's plenty of money in that market adjustment fund to handle those, but this is a whole different.
So will this save the
people are
2
all whole
people?
departments.
I believe it will, yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we've had discussions with them, in fact, and we're told, look, if we get close,
all right.
we'll stay, but otherwise we've gotta.
That's pretty
move on.
important. I'd hate to do this and all of a sudden have you come to
No,
us next
we've
week
been
and say, look,
told
we
that
just
at
lost.
least on the 2, we've been told that they would, if we're close, that they would stick around. The other one, I don't know yet for sure, and that's a workload thing that I can't expect you to resolve for us at this moment.
Yeah, but
We just have to
at
do our
least
best
you'll
to
have
that
a-
discussion, but
You'll have a wage that you'll be able to hire somebody else to replace that person.
exactly, yeah.
Well, and one of the distinctions with the public defenders, and I've spoken closely with Jim about this, is, and they deserve, I mean, they deserve to have their situation assessed and addressed. But they have additional funding sources that we just don't know yet of what the state might be able
We
to
don't.
contribute to that. And so where we might not be able to do the one-time bonus, they don't have access to that additional funding. They might be able to hold that now in order to argue with the state, the legislature, the IDC for additional funds, so the county doesn't have to pick up the entire tab.
We're gonna do that next week, among other things.
I'll tell you how you can give them more money.
How?
Go back to contracts.
That's what I think.
Well, that's gonna be a part of the discussion too.
Eliminate the benefits, go back to contracts, you can give them an increase and you'll still be spending the same amount of money.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And if they, I mean, here's the bottom line, if IDC doesn't come through and fund a majority of that operation, we go back to contract, in my opinion.
I'd say you sit down and have a negotiation or conversation with the IDC.
It's gonna be a
and
tough
legislature.
discussion, but we're kind of the poster child, are we not,
We are,
for the public defenders?
yeah, I think Davis is they have one full-time employee who's their director
Yeah.
of benefits and all, but then they've got contracts and that seems to have worked for them. And so, yeah, we've run an experiment, so to speak, and you indicated that it's come out to be twice as expensive as was predicted initially.
What are our numbers on that? I mean,
It's not quite twice as expensive, but we're spending probably 50 or 60% more, not.
1.5 times.
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, but we knew it would be expensive. The question was, are the outcomes what we had? We knew we were investing additional money, hoping to save on the back end with better quality outcomes, less recidivism and all that sort of stuff. Now, the question I would ask is before we switch the models
Yeah,
is,
that-
are we actually getting any
that's-
return on
yeah.
investment? Because if we're not, we need to, it's this awfully expensive experiment. Let's
that's,
see if we got a return. If we've got a return, great. If not, then we need to.
that's the question. Are we staying out of lawsuits? We stop getting sued for every, contract lawyer that hasn't done their job. I mean, you guys would know that as well as anybody.
Well, and that's why I think we need some objective measures.
No, we do.
I think you're probably, Commissioner Freud, in the best spot on that IDC commission to help
Yeah.
judge whether this is being successful in terms of the outcomes we were paying for.
I agree with you 100%.
Well, you've been incarcerated 3 or 4
Oh,
times,
yeah,
Sharon and
yeah.
I combined.
I can give you firsthand experience.
Well, yeah, as long as your public defender's working with you, then.
As long as the
Yeah,
duty's light.
Reasonable
Hell, I
doubt,
can't afford,
reasonable
I can't afford my own attorney. My cousins charged me like $200 an
Yeah,
hour.
that's right.
So commissioners, to summarize, I'll have Steph draft up a memo with this, with the full cost on there. I'll send it over for you guys all to sign and we'll make it effective the next pay period, start of the next pay period. Is that
Sarah,
okay? If
we
I
do
put
that?
that together?
Okay.
Okay.
Fine.
That's gonna spread through the county like
Yeah.
wildfire.
Well,
Yeah.
thanks. I'm
You got
sorry
for
to bring
next
this
week?
bad news before you, but it's, there's.
Well-
It's just the market's a new crazy place that we're trying to
Well, this one,
keep up with.
I'm still gonna get to the bottom of this next week, I talked to Jerry Stevenson, asked him what the heck was going on with those idiots down there that they do this.
That's a lot. I mean, that wasn't just like a small thing.
No.
That was like ridiculous. I mean, a
It
lot.
wasn't like a 20%.
Oh, I'd say at least it
yeah, it had
was,
to be
it
more
was
than that.
significant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they were
they were
down
around.
there a ways, but then Salt Lake pounced on it immediately and Scott's nightmare slippery slope that he talks about began to materialize right before our eyes because Utah County, their attorney told me at our last meeting, he says, we are working with our county commissioners and we are going to be 10 or 20% above Davis County. That's where we're going to be. That's what they've decided they're going to implement.
Really?
Why they've taken that as but that's their position. We're going to be 10 or 20% above Davis County. And you've seen what Salt Lake has done there, at least where the AG is, and I think exceeding them. Well, they are exceeding them. You go up a couple of years and Salt Lake's
Okay.
ahead of the AG, so.
All right.
I say thank you. And please let us know, how can we help shoulder the burden going forward with the idea of a truth in taxation?
Yeah,
Please let
well,
us know.
we will get to that point. We will definitely keep you in the loop.
Well, there's 13 people here, I hope that would have a comment during the hearing.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Chris. Sarah, thanks for all the hard work on that.
Yeah.
Come back when you have good news.
Sure.
Yes.
I mean, that's-
Okay, thank you.
So we'll see, Scott, we'll see you in a little bit.
Yeah, or whenever you guys are up there. Yeah, we have some interesting scenarios and I don't know if it's still being recorded, but I don't know if you remember last year, we've had several good years and commissioners have been fortunate to not
bad one.
Welcome, everyone. We're now our 3 o'clock work session meeting. This is a discussion regarding Inland Port Authority resolution. Stephanie, Sean, Brandon, Chris. And we've got a couple of other people. Introduce yourself.
Lynn Mayer from the Inland Port.
Okay,
Stephen Smith, Utah Inland Port Authority.
Okay.
Scott Wolford, also in the port.
great.
It looks like we have our executive director online with you as well, Ben Hart.
We got it. Ben, welcome.
Thank
Hi.
you.
We can engage a couple of strategies. Actually had about a half-hour conversation with our good friend Senator Jerry Stevenson, who I think maybe get a little insight on that discussion. Go ahead, Stephanie. Can you hear us? We can talk. Oh.
So,
Yeah.
Previous meeting, obviously.
test.
Flip, let's go through. Yeah, so let's take.
Oh, wait,
that
I can
off
hear
the-
you now.
That fixed,
You're
yeah.
online?
Can you hear me? I can hear you now.
Okay, all right, good. Go ahead, Ben.
That's what I could tell.
All right, I think later we might rely on our guests to explain the role of the Inland Port Authority and what we do with the community. But this is how you initiate that sort of conversation, relationship. You can pass a resolution that requests But the inland Utah Inland Port Authority, not a certain area, which is this resolution goes up to this, whereas electronic those are not, it just kind of set the context for the Port Authority is established. The purpose of it is just pull something straight from the state statute, so it's some citations there. And the commission here on this one is identify certain parcels which operate be successful. Here is a finding by the commission that residents can enjoy some benefits if we explain it in the report. They're creating jobs, boosting economy, state resources, system development of the industrial district. So those are some benefits that we come from this report. And then here are the finances. So the resolution then goes on to hopefully satisfy everything we need to be able to start the conversation. It's a specific request to designate this area that I'll show you as project to and then consenting to including and so hopefully the three of those can fit on your statutory limits. If it does not, please let me know. Resolution.
We don't do something. It's just. Yo. What are you showing us?
These are the parcels that would be. We would ask them to approve the project. They're all right next to each other. We could probably get a whole area, and I can show it all of that together, but they are all next to each other.
Contiguous 1,000,
Yeah, so here's one
it's on
parcel.
the south side of the.
It's like, it's to the west. And this person's to the east.
Horse. Say, 5 minutes. Now, please. Sitting. Tell me what you think.
Commissioners, would you like this on next week's agenda or in a future commission?
I
agenda?
don't see a reason we can't start this resolution. Again, that's the starting point, not the ending point.
It is, yeah, it just starts. the
You okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, put it on the agenda next week.
Okay. I'll do that.
That's the eighth. Yes.
And if you guys want to be part of, be in that meeting
We will have people here.
Yeah.
and we'll give you some time to you just to explain.
Fantastic.
We have a lot of eyes still on that part of the county.
Sure. Yeah,
So,
very excited to start. We'll have people here.
good. All right, well, sounds like you got to go.
Thank you. Very excited about the collaboration.
Yeah, I
Thank
think
you.
Thank you.
we're excited as well. So let me ask you one question before you leave. You know, one thing you've got there is a railroad to deal with.
Yep.
How's that gonna go?
We,
Schultz should be able to help you with that.
Yeah,
I had that conversation with Jerry.
I didn't want to bring his name up.
I will.
But yes, the Representative Schultz is an ally in negotiating with Union Pacific.
Yeah.
Has been very effective for us.
Yeah.
And again, you're in a great spot for not just UP, but potentially another class one railroad as well.
Yeah, I'm assuming that Schultz, Mike and Jerry both know about the railroad crossing.
They both 100%.
Jerry does for sure now.
Yeah, and so does Rep Schultz.
All right,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
so much.
Thank you.
Rachel, be right back.
Okay,
Thanks.
hey, we're just about back on schedule.
I know we are.
Wow,
Hey, you need to go back to agenda item 1.
I just realized that, yeah,
Thanks, Katie.
thanks.
All right. Thank you.
I'm gonna go, guys, I'm gonna go hit the hat.
Say, where'd I hear that before? Yeah, let's.
Okay, one.
to agenda item 1, since we started this whole process early this morning. Which is discussion and or action for the minutes for the meeting held on July 17th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Minutes are approved. The 10 o'clock session on airport was canceled. And we've been through everything else other than we're now at our 3:30 discussion regarding the 3300 South, 3500 West rezone. Rick Scadden is with us. Steve Burton, Rick Grover, Charlie Ewert's not here.
Correct.
Sean, Liam, and Gary, and Rick is here with us. So, Rick, do you want to tell us who's with you there? Or who else?
I brought Jason Bull, our entitlement attorney,
Okay, got it.
Leslie Clifton, the realtor that's.
Yep.
Helping with the project.
Got it. Okay, welcome. So, Steve, you're at the top of the agenda. Go ahead. Sure.
Yep, commissioners, we set this up at the request of Rick. We've had this rezone application in our process since, I think, beginning of the year. And as staff, we wanted to be careful moving it forward because we know that this is in the annexation area of West Haven City. And we also happen to show it on our general plan as a mixed-use commercial location that'll show you here in just a minute. But before moving it forward to the planning commission and public hearings and all of that, we want to be sensitive to the city's, they've expressed some concern to us of approving things and then just leaving it for them to deal with. And so what we suggested to Rick was that he meet with the city and even get some kind of formal determination from the city about annexation and getting some entitlements through the city. And I'm sure he can talk to you a little bit about how that's going, but I think ultimately he wanted to present just a general concept to you to get some feedback from the commission if he decides to move this forward in the county. But it's kind of remained stagnant on our end here in the county planning office because we would like to know if West Haven is going to approve or deny this. Because that will probably change our recommendation to the planning commission and to yourselves. And Jason's prepared just a couple of slides that I can show you as Rick and Jason and Leslie go over that. Let's see here. Yeah, you guys want to take it away?
Sure. We appreciate the time being with us. We've got a couple slides just to orient you with the site. And Greg, I don't know if maybe we should start with your conversations with the city and where that's led.
Well, I've had actually half a dozen at least. More communication with the staff, but we've been in front of the council and planning commission in work sessions. And we've gotten 2 yeses, a soft no, and 2 no's. So they've never really come right out. Candidly, if I may, I know the mayor's very against it. We've offered to selling the property, and of course he wants to pay less than what we've had to pay for it. But that being said, we've kind of hit a wall there. We're not getting anywhere there. We came out with a plan of 30,000 square feet of commercial and 200 apartment doors. And they shot that down immediately, which shoot high, right? So now we're down to a 64 type townhome product with still the commercial. The commercial has been a hit. We built this project out in Syracuse on Antelope Drive. The project was highly successful. They just kind of parceled off things. We'll show you the actual commercial layout. Commercial in that area is going to take a little bit more density than the area had. And in order to do that, this is our proposal. I've met with Steve a few times. He's directed us on some road directions and different things, and we've tried to work through his ideas with some road layout. That being said, I'm doing a large project over here on 3600 And we've actually dedicated property to the city to take Hinkley Road out, that you could come around and come down there to hit 3,300.
Can you show me where that road comes through that connector?
It's going to come through about right here, come here, just clip this and come down here to the intersection.
Let me just show it on maybe a larger map there. I'm doing on our gizmo here.
Couple things there. The city is just finishing up widening 3,300 south and 3,500 west, of course, has already been done. Currently, this project, so Hinkley's gonna come down. It's going to, the city's buying properties right now as we speak. The road's gonna come from here, come up here, hit there and keep going west.
So it intersects before 3,500.
Yes, about just barely nips this property corner. And it's going to be a 80-foot road that comes and all the way up to 31st Street. But yeah, this project here was one I did, and we dedicated an 80-foot right of way through here to the city for that future road. So that's their plans. I think with their future plan of putting a road like that in the area, I think traffic would never be a problem. And I just, like I said, I know the Crevedel family really well. I've been dealing with them, and they're discussing with them right now to try and buy their properties from them for that agreement.
One thing that might be helpful to you, I don't know if you wanted to cover this more, just to show you, and I'll say, Jason, this is Jason's presentation, so let me know if you wanna take over, but this is an image from the county's general plan that shows this as a possible mixed-use commercial location. And then you can see West Haven City, my understanding is planning on it being more commercial and less residential.
Actually,
Maybe C2.
quote unquote, in the meeting, he says they want to keep it for open space. Whatever that means. Was that not his?
It is, and so they've been talking to Rick a little bit. They want Smiths to go in there. Rick met with Smiths, and I don't know how long it is. So in that meeting and many meetings that we've had with Rob and a couple other people, is he said we'd like to preserve this as open space. So I came right out and said, open space for Smiths, and he said, no, open space for open space. So.
Yeah, and that parcel, I mean, a minimum, I met with, the city invited me to a meeting with Kroger. They brought people in from Chicago. Kroger's needs at least 17 acres and more like 21.
How many acres have you got there?
7.
Okay.
With just under, but they also said they're at least 5 years away before they're looking to put a store out here. And I'll just echo Kroger's words also was, but we need to see more density in order to get a grocery store in that area.
They had a piece under contract for 18 months just south of that. You probably know that.
And they want
Mhm.
Okay.
That was 4 years ago.
And look, this is where I grew up. I grew up on 3,500 West. I get the attitude out there, but if they really want those types of things, they're gonna have to support what has to come with it. And I don't think 60 townhomes in this area is an offensive thing. It's gonna be surrounded, it's gonna be behind the commercial buildings. They're gonna be a 2-story, this is the one on Antelope Drive. We like this little silo. This is actually the office HOA for these condos. We were gonna connect this and make a 90-degree. Like I say, the plat doesn't actually show that, but we've talked about with Steve and the planners, would put it out there. We'd have a 10-foot sidewalk out on the curb. We'd have mezzanines over the walkway and have a nice walkable corner there and some residents behind it to support the businesses that would come in there. This is a townhome project we're working on in West Point right now. We try to break up the roof lines and everything, even though floor plans are very similar. It breaks it up and gives it some dimension. These drawings don't show the ins and outs of the buildings as well. You know, you put flat lines on paper, it kind of flattens it out, but you can see the roof lines. We really do try to put a lot of effort into a pleasing, product that, does a good job for the area.
Where on Antelope is that?
That's about 1,000 west.
1163 west. 2100. Where the new gym's going in with the, you got the Smiths and the new gym and all that right going in right there.
Yeah.
So they're just east of those or just west of those apartments there,
Gotcha.
or no, east backwards, comes backwards, so
Right.
of those townhomes.
Those are actually apartments, but same. Or those 3-level townhomes. Oh, also, one hurdle the city placed in front of us was the sewer connection. So we had approached and applied for annexation into the Central Weaver Sewer District, which we were unanimously accepted into. There's a meeting this week that they signed the Mylar and we can move forward with the annexation into the Central Weaver.
What about the water?
We have Wilster for water. All right. Can't get too many of these going. The provider.
Taylor West Weaver, isn't it?
Yeah, Taylor West Weaver. I'm sorry. Thank you. For
That
sure.
helps, so
Yes.
that's.
So I have Wilster from Taylor West Weaver. And we will have a Wilster after this week from Central Weaver.
Okay.
If I may share, we really tried to work with them to make this happen and hook up into their sewer.
We did.
With who?
The
Hooper?
city.
No, with West
West
Haven, they
Haven.
have an interlock, they have an interlock with Hooper.
Right.
And so when they came around and told us that we weren't gonna be able to hook up, we had no other choice. Because at that point, without a sewer, we have nowhere to go, the sellers have nowhere to go. So with that being said, that's when we did our research and did our application, because we have to, you know. So it will be that, will hopefully be completed and signed on the 8th of this month.
That's interesting because I think that falls within the annexation declaration for the special service district.
That was
Which is
our
separate from
understanding,
the
but
city.
they're trying to tell us that's not the case.
I heard all your conversations.
Oh.
Yeah, you listen to those. She should.
Once in a while I do.
She's up on it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So we feel like with these buildings out front and a nice country feel to it, those townhomes, you'll see like 10% of that. I mean, everything's gonna be behind these buildings. The height of these are the same height of our townhomes. We're not doing 3-story out of the ground. Done a lot of garden style apartments, but I think it'll be a very tasteful product for the area. And let's face it, it's a product that in today's world is a lot more affordable for our young kids that want to stay out there.
It makes sense on that main road too.
Especially
A lot
when
more sense than
On
large
3500?
lots. Well, the
Oh.
connector roads,
Yeah.
would you say 70 feet?
80 feet.
80 feet.
It's an 80-foot.
80-foot collector road.
Yeah.
And they did buy on the Hearst property, right on that road, they did come in and acquire the frontage of the Hearst property, as you
Yeah,
can
which is
see
right,
there.
is here.
Yeah, so they've come in and they've acquired that, from Ron and Glynis to enable for that road to be expanded, so.
Isn't that the road we're working on right now, Gary? 3,300?
Mhm,
Yes.
mhm.
You have an agreement with the city and as a way, I never remember what it's.
That's what Ashley's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Waycott.
Yeah, 3,300 and 25.
It's almost complete at that intersection. Another thing, I think, if you look at our plot again, you'll see very ample parking.
Yeah.
The product across the street isn't built out, but by the restrictions, by the parking that was allowed, their words, not mine. They feel like it's almost built out because they can't even park what they have. If you can see, there's, I can't recall the number, there's at least. I don't have these on, I can't see it.
Yeah.
But the parking is very, enough parking there for, and everything, the townhomes will be 20-foot driveways and also 2-car garages, so really 4 stalls per unit. Plus we've proposed some extra parking in some of the other areas. An open area in the middle, we plan to have,
Little park or something.
Yeah, a little park there for the little ones. Also, we checked into, the possibility of contributing to the park fund and what did you?
25, yeah, 20, I think.
2,000 per door,
Per
but
door, in lieu of
yeah.
putting in the park. So we've spoken to them as well, and
Well, we would require that, would we not?
It's up to the commission.
Well, we're
Normally, that's what we would have.
I mean, the last number that we've approved out there, that's a mandatory requirement of the development agreement. I think it's.
Even if there's a park space.
Uh-huh, yeah,
We're fine with that.
Yeah.
We're willing to.
because they can use that, put that another.
correct,
It's
and so
Yeah.
exactly, we just wanted you to know that we have spoken with them.
Good.
And have met with them, they understand exactly what we're doing, and there's been communication on that, we're aware of that amount per door.
Yeah.
So currently, if I may, we're just planning commercial here, but we're reserving, under Steve's direction, a place here and also potentially here for any future commercial that would.
And I'll mention, we have talked conceptually about a design, but typically with you and with the planning commission is where we get a little more, and with
Sure.
engineering, if we need to get a little more technical.
Yeah, makes sense.
Rick, this lines up with that commercial street just to the north,
Yes.
right?
Well, no, there's a commercial parking lot.
Right,
This
sorry, I
is
guess
actually-
this street, right?
That street, yes,
That does line up?
that does line. up.
Okay. All right.
It's gonna be interesting once the other road comes in there, because it's gonna be a little bit of an angle. So, but at this point, they would have to just future plan for how they accomplish that.
Connected.
But with the open space we're leaving over on that northeast corner, there'd be plenty of room to change that intersection in any direction necessary.
How far would that be from that intersection approximately?
I wanna say it was 400 and some feet, maybe 5. That's something I had, don't have with me today.
Yeah. When you discuss that with them.
I'll say it this way, it's the exact same distance as the one across the street. That's a really bad joke. I'm sorry.
So Rick, I'm guessing you were just maybe hoping to get some input on if you think the commission would want to consider moving this forward,
Yeah,
knowing that West Haven doesn't like it or may not like it.
I'd say it's 50-50 out there. But as we know, there was a lot of running for office that was stopping all growth out there. And some people got voted in because of that, and some people got voted out because of that, so, but at the end of the day. I felt like it's 50-50.
We've really tried to meet every bit of their concerns, their needs and their wants. Of course, our preference was to do apartments. They asked for townhomes and we were more than willing. We're still more than willing. So we just wanted you to know that we've met with them multiple times. Every time that we've been asked to go back, we went back. Every meeting, one-on-one, whatever that was, and have really not been able to move forward since October, I think, of last year is when we filed that.
Well, I almost feel like they're not giving it definitive because then it drags us out even further.
What happens if they do annex you and they get to give you whatever zoning
Yes,
they want?
if we were able to get, is it an overlay? It's not an overlay. What are we?
MP,
Oh, through the county?
Yeah, if we were able to get
yeah,
that, they annex us in as given.
Those entitlements down.
So are they waiting for us? We played this game with a couple of other cities. As you well know, and I hate getting in front of the cities, and I've had discussions with the mayor and his chief out there. They told me they're gonna take everything on the east side of 3500, possibly all the way to 12th Street. Now, again, whether that happens or not. But I don't like the idea that we do all the work, so they don't take the heat for it, and then I'd rather have them annex in now, so.
Well, and we're not opposed to it, it's just. Your general plan allows for certain things that they're struggling with right now, so.
What's our current zone?
Current zone is A2.
A2, that's right.
So it's an A2. Keep in mind, just because it's in the general plan does not mean that this would be.
Oh, we fully
I
understand
don't-
that,
So,
but I think it's a 3,500 west has become quite a major
it
thoroughfare.
has, I agree.
And 3,300 south getting widened, but that commuter road coming all the way from Hinckley and 31st Street. I think the transportation in that area, I know UTA has future plans for bus service out there on 3,500. And, done a lot of due diligence on that, so there's transportation. I don't think traffic's going to have any negative effect of the area, with the improvements headed that way. And it's a product that, will be tasteful for the area. It'll be very, and that's another thing, we even agreed with the city, you know, if you want to do this and take this, then we'll let you have a say in the architectural style, we'll let you pick, we'll let you be involved with that and things, so I'm with Leslie, I feel like bent over backwards trying to give them things that would work, and we love working with cities. If everybody works together, I think everybody can win, but, I just feel like we're not getting yes, no, or whatever out there, we're just getting kind of stymied, and we're ready to try and push this
Well,
forward.
that's why we came back to here, and our hopes was to work with you guys. If we can work a lovely project. We know that they want the impact fees, they know they're struggling, you know, a little bit of that. They don't want it, but they want the money, you know, they're like, oh, but so our hope is to possibly work with the county, come up with a lovely project that maybe they would take, because we're not getting anywhere. We're going on almost a year of many, many meetings. Where do we truly go from here? Right? And so that was our hope, is to meet with you today, let you see this. And if you feel good with it, maybe be able to move forward. If it's something that we can do, maybe get approval here and try to annex it over. I don't know, right?
Well, we can't give you approval on that today.
Oh, no.
No, we just wanted to get a feel for you, no, to start the process.
So Commissioner Bolos, this is in your neck of the woods. What, you know that area as well as anybody. What's your opinion?
Well, given the, when the city applied for the money from WACOG for that connector
Yeah.
road, that changes the whole landscape out here. And I know that there's a political sentiment to keep everything agriculture out there. But if you're investing that much money in a road, I think we need to approve the things that go around that.
Okay.
And it looks like the general plan, which was approved before I was here, reflects that. It's great.
Okay, Commissioner Harvey,
Isn't that? what
you've been in
was-
this game before.
Yeah, isn't that what was reflected in the general plan?
It was, it identifies that. We did go out with them to meet with West Haven.
Yes.
Their staff as well, and they showed him a version. It was probably the worst case version where it had 3-story buildings back behind, and so they've met with them and they've reduced the height of those townhome buildings down to 2 stories now.
Yeah,
That was the
but,
advice.
those were apartments. I mean, we totally went away from
Yeah.
those. But,
Yeah, you're-
That's that plan you showed me earlier.
right,
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I wouldn't be in favor of that at all.
Me
but-
neither.
So,
I love those apartments.
There are a lot out there, though. Let's be
Yeah, I
fair.
joke.
No, we
we got plenty, we need places where people can
I
own.
mean, and to go.
And this
from-
is a for sale product. This is not a for
Okay.
rent product.
Okay,
I know, point, there's a lot of rental. And even the single family stuff is.
right.
He's hit on everything that I was hoping, including that last comment of the sale product. And so my only question is where that little park is going in there? Where's the driveways on all those? Is it on the main street coming in?
So
Or is it on that little bit of a driveway?
it's
coming in?
here. And then here.
Yeah, I just could see that part.
Okay, then what am I?
No, it's okay. So on the other one too, the one that going horizontal across there, it's going that bigger road. I'm sorry, right here. So those driveways for these units here are right off the,
Yes,
and these are here.
yes.
Okay. It's not that big a deal. I'm good with this, Mr. Chair.
Okay,
And truthfully, it is 2-car garages. and 2-car, and we designed it that way, the same way we're doing in West Point, so they're really
And if I may,
2-car garage with 2 vehicles and large enough for a truck. It's not a truck that's gonna be sticking out into the sidewalk or a truck of that, so it gives 4 vehicles per unit
That's what he said.
plus the extra parking that we're trying to give for that reason.
and if I may, these are 20-foot wide garages, a true 2-car garage. A lot of people will call it 18-footer, and you have to be skinnier than I am to get out of that car. So
Yeah,
these are true
I gotta
2-car
really suck it
garages.
in, I hate that.
And 20-foot driveways. A legal parking stall is 18, you guys know that. Bring that up.
Great, thank you.
9-foot driveways, and as a pickup truck, we are,
Pick up strong.
pickup strong area, so.
Something that the planning commission likes to see is a letter of support from the Parks District.
Right.
I guess you guys would like to see that as well.
That would be good. That'd
Yeah,
be
we-
really good, actually.
We
In
pretty
my
much have that
discussion-
understanding with the park districts that we don't do anything until, and then obviously sewer and water become critical. We need, the only issue I've got is parking satisfactory for that number of units. I don't mind this going ahead, but, obviously the planning commission needs to look at it, but, with this type of developments, the worst thing you can do is have people then fill up the streets. 2-car garages don't handle their boats and their RVs and all their toys that they have, so. And if I may, we actually talked about future planning for, drawing blank today on your, up in the valley, Ogden Valley, your plan, your
Form-based.
form-based
Street
street, I'm sorry.
parking.
We actually designed with parking out on there because it is wide enough. We put some out on 3,500 in front of
For
the
clients
commercial.
only.
Yeah, okay, but I
Was
don't
it-
know,
Was it angled?
we had angle, we could do parallel, there's room to do about anything in that area.
So in
I know
the,
engineering hates that.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Right.
you got on-street parking on 3,500?
No, as you can see, it's not there, but
so in Syracuse, what they did
there's room to.
It's an option. It can be done.
is the clients have to park in the back
Yeah.
in Syracuse. I mean, the owners have to park in the back. Clients can only park in the front because they're there, gone, come gone, come gone, come gone.
But we have.
But we're open for suggestion and what you guys would like to see on that. And
Syracuse only has 1 row per building too,
Yes.
though, and we're double sided on that, so our parking is way more dipped.
And in the park service, they know we're talking to you. They wanted us to come and talk to you before we go any further, right? Because
Park
they wanted, because they wanted to know that you had the support before we started delving into that. So they are also aware that we're here today talking to you guys.
How much does it cost to build a silo like that?
Doug was here to tell us.
Yeah, my builder partner is not here with me. but
So it's
not.
Rich Development is who, and if you want to Google his stuff, you can. It's just
It's the guy on
richdevelopment.com.
Yeah, I just thought you guys could spitball that.
Don't know until.
The square footage is a little more obviously than a rectangular shaped building, but it's not that bad. And that is actually the HOA office for that.
So I have an office
Saw
on
that.
And that's a nice looking, it's just a nice looking.
Little project.
And it fits the area, I believe.
Fits here.
What kind of fence is that up front?
That's just a 2 rail white fence.
It's a vinyl fence?
Vinyl.
Final
Probably
fence.
want something a little, if we can even do a fence along the street, which we probably wouldn't, because the building would be further up.
Right,
anyway,
because
but
they wanted longer sidewalks and for the
I
patrons.
was just curious, yeah.
Yeah, there could be a number of things, or it could be none, as you mentioned.
Rick, you said on August 8th, you're looking at getting the boundaries changed for the sewer.
We've submitted a Mylar and they're saying it will get signed on August 8th.
Okay.
And then I'll take that and go record.
Central Weaver.
Okay, well, it sounds like you've got the okay to go to the next step. Okay.
We appreciate you guys
Thanks, Ariel.
today. Thank you very much.
Got Mountain someday.
Okay.
Pal Mel.
Thanks, everyone, for your time.
Thank you.
Good to see you guys again.
That's what seemed to happen.
What the heck?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
I got 32 emails.
Better than all of us. So they're just being all day.
Their general plan, they have this little block of commercials surrounded by.
So that's great. I want to answer.
Doesn't make any sense for.
There ought to be a transition. That's exactly right.
I mean, and you have this
Is it?
little block
Is it really?
Yeah.
bordered by acres.
Yeah, I mean, like.
You know what I mean?
That's.
Why West Haven bids it?
Still be up at the ground.
Yeah, well, the mayor told me he wanted the groceries for them.
Everyone came back healthy, so I'm actually gonna say yes.
That's probably what I wouldn't. Yeah.
Seriously. I didn't-
Yeah.
Right, one of the grocery, get him a grocery store.
I tried. I had it under contract just down the road.
You did?
Are you
kidding me?
It's
What the heck?
half a mile south.
How are you? Right down on me.
Somebody from Culture Parks and Rec stole Jill, and so we had to.
So they replaced with a home, they're like, we can get somebody here, right? No kidding? Well, this is our new guy? Oh, wow, couldn't you have at least talked to us about the people first?
We
What a
did.
great choice, what a great choice. Holy mackerel. A little sarcastic, I'm gonna ask you to work on that a little bit. Oh, yeah, oh, yeah, we do that all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. Being sarcastic. I'm happy to hear, you didn't even tell me that. Boy, you kept a strong separation.
Maybe the result would have been
So
different.
we are dealing with this, but yeah. Dr. Willis said,
I mean, it's good to be in favor of James. I just said, things the last week about.
Whenever you're ready, Scott.
I am trying to sign in with my laptop right now, and as soon as I am in, we'll be ready.
Okay.
I've met him once or twice. Pleasure. Thank you. Nice to see you too. Ricky, hey, what are you thinking? I'm thinking clearly. Most of the time. Really? The rating's got it. Oh, this is our combined today? No, it's tomorrow. Tomorrow, Lorraine's out of town with the health, National Health Board. Is it tomorrow, the combined already?
Mhm.
Holy cow. That would be like a Swiss guy, like holy cheese. Yeah. You make them there, I make here. That was a terrible. You know John Mon? We're actually best friends. Yeah. Yeah. It's actually not, that's Smith.
Actually said that.
Yeah.
I said that out there before, so it's kind of a continuation of an old joke. You do your own jokes, I have my own flavor.
Yeah, you sure do. Interesting. You have,
What is this?
you know Chris Crockett? Sir. No, not you, I knew you did. What about you? I don't. Chris, this is Jared Smith.
Very nice to meet you.
Jared is the new Chris Crooked.
Crooked.
Jill.
That's how they spelled my name in the Ogden Valley News.
Crooked.
And so that my nameplate has since been changed.
Has it?
Of course they would.
And I was like, I couldn't tell, like, was it a typo? Or was it deliberate?
What article was that?
In talking about Jim O'Brien. They
Oh.
misspelled my name to Chris Crooked. I know, right?
So
So my entire office, they changed my name.
did she actually print it? Did she?
And so one of our investigators lives up in the valley, told me about it.
You really?
Yeah,
Johnny just.
but I haven't heard anything from him. So
Oh, he's not done yet.
Don't you just spread them out?
I don't think so.
He's not done.
This goes on probably every 2 months, we have something like this. I was in North Ogden, your friends out there, they introduced me because I went to speak, I'd like to introduce you, John Bond, the Weaver County Assessor.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you ready,
I'm almost ready. I'm having issues with Zoom, but I think we're about there now.
Commissioner, you know Jared Smith?
I don't think I do.
Commissioner, you know Jared Smith?
I don't, where did he come from? Is he?
He took
Jill.
He's the new
Jill's
Jill.
place.
Oh, how you doing?
How are you?
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm a little worried if you're friends with Commissioner Hunt.
Well, I don't react.
Yeah, we didn't know that at the time.
You know, it gives me a little concern.
Should give you a lot of
Don't let
concern.
that out.
Pause, we call it pause.
Well,
Cause for pause.
I'm past the pause. I'm in the concern stage.
Yeah.
Okay, we should be good to go now.
All right, so let's go ahead and start our 4 PM work session meeting for, what is today? July 31st, the last day in July. Second quarter financial update and budget changes. Mr. Scott Park, Ricky Hatch is with us, Stephanie Ebert, John Bond, Chris Crockett's with us. Who else we missing? Ricky Hatch.
Jared Smith.
Okay.
Jared Smith.
And Jared Smith. Okay, Sean Wilkinson, I think we got the bases covered. Okay,
I'm just gonna go through.
You're here to give us good news.
Yes, I'm gonna go through a quick laundry list of things really quick, easy, hopefully easy enough. So,
Okay, we like easy.
well, we'll start easy and we'll get hard.
Okay.
So, the US Forest Service has given us a grant. It was approved in prior years. It's for, some work on Pine View. We're doing design. We've
Yeah.
already got money and budgeted. And so we're moving the grant faster than we'd anticipated, or I should, well, yeah. So basically, we're spending more money this year than we had planned to do it. So I just,
Oh,
increasing the revenue and expenses by $212,000. That's this budget change.
Hold on. When you say work, is this around the parking lots and the vaults for the toilets and that kind of
this is the
stuff?
whole Pine View redesign.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks.
Everything.
So our contribution to this is in-kind match.
Yeah.
Just volunteer hours and some
One
engineering.
kind of money.
Not even money, just hours, volunteer hours, people
Okay.
up there working.
That's great.
And then the Forest Service is paying for the design work, but they're actually reimbursing us, we're paying, and so all this is they are ahead, I guess, on their design, and so they're out of money now to pay it. We've got a grant that covers it, so that's what this budget request is. I was gonna put it through KISSFL, but I thought I'll just explain it to you today, and if you're okay with that, I'll just have you sign this.
So the Forest Service hasn't paid us that yet.
No, it's a reimbursement basis.
Okay, got
So,
it.
but we've spent the money,
All right,
we've
good.
got the
No,
invoices from the contractor, we just need money to pay him now.
yeah, the federal government's sometimes not real quick on sending checks, so let's get it in.
Yep, so if you're okay with that, I'll just pass this around to have whoever wants to sign it. Oops, let me grab the ones.
Wow,
Oh, thank you, Gabe.
this is a big deal in your neighborhood, in your backyard.
Well, I'll just, it won't be positive when it comes out in the Valley News about it, so
Yeah.
keep my fingerprints off of it, especially with my back finger.
That's what it's about.
Fingerprints,
sign with a-
fingerprints. Sorry.
Okay.
It's digit talk.
Okay, enough of that.
Next on the list is, we need to hold a public hearing for budget changes you have previously approved, previously seen, and we talked about and had you sign or either on KISSFL or a piece of paper, but we need to hold the public hearing.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to summarize these, just so you can see them. So we have $530,000 of new grants. And this Pine View grant is the first portion that we were gonna spend, but then we moved on. So we needed to add another 212,000 to it. So that's why you see this on here twice.
Okay,
So $530,000 of new revenue and new expenses, all grant related. So I can go into any one of those if you'd like, but you've seen all these before and you've approved them all before.
Okay,
Down here on this other section, so animal shelter, this was some one-time expenses for some, I believe it was HVAC and some roof repair. The county fuel shops, those were the tanks that we have in Eden and also at the shop that we had hoped wouldn't have cost us a lot less than that, but it just,
Wow.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
we've done that, right?
Crap.
We have ordered them.
Or,
yes.
yeah,
We just
So they're
need,
con vaults and they're not in place yet.
Correct.
yeah,
Wow.
we just need money to pay the invoices and you've approved this already, which just gonna be on
Yeah.
a public hearing.
got it.
Health Department, some transfer, some additional revenue that's coming in and some additional money that's going out. Transfer station rollover, that was a piece of equipment we ordered in 2021 and it did not arrive until 2023.
What equipment's that, Sean?
That was one of our big loaders.
Loaders.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Okay,
And it's there, though.
It
I
is-
see
we have
it,
it
it's
now.
nice.
Yes, we've
Yeah,
had,
yeah.
within the last couple of months, we've got this. So.
And you guys have approved to pay that just so, and then Upper Valley Sewer expense, that's just some additional repairs we've had to do on the Upper Valley Sewer system that wasn't budgeted. We have money in the fund balance for it. So if you're okay with that, I'm gonna put this on a public hearing, not tomorrow, obviously, but probably the following week or the next time you have a.
Okay, scroll to the top again. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That's all.
So we got 530 revenue and
Yep.
1.5, guys.
Yeah,
Um,
620 in revenue and 1.6.
Okay.
yeah, and the biggest difference of that is that county shop and then the
Yeah.
transfer station, that's basically your difference.
Well, we had money for it. We budgeted that.
Yeah, I mean, so we had money for it saved, we had to add it to our budget.
Right.
Yeah,
We had money in the bank, we just didn't put it right. Got it. Okay,
okay, any other questions on this?
no,
Okay. Close that. I'm gonna try to make, sorry, you were saying it. So this is the quarterly financial statement. You've seen this same format over the course of months and years. Sometimes I don't focus on it in these presentations because there's really just not much to say at this point. And I would say the argument is basically the same. So I'll just scroll through some of the highlights really quick. Actually, I'm on page 4. I wanted to be on page 1 if I can get my. Sorry, I have things in the way. Okay, so let's start with the general fund. So right now, we're at 20% of our revenues for the year. Last year, this time we were at 22% of our revenues. I am not concerned about anything. We're right on track for where we wanted to be.
okay,
When I scroll, what that means in terms of department expenditures, we're at 40% of our budget for the year. Last year at this time, we were at 39%. The only thing that has a big change is non-departmental, and that's basically related to ARPA grants. Nothing to worry about there. So there's nothing in the general fund that I'm worried about.
okay,
I'll just hit some of these other ones really quick. Culture, Parks and Rec. The revenue being up last year was due to a big grant or it wasn't actually that big of a grant. It was a grant that came in that was just higher than our normal one. And so compared to the year, I mean, revenue 23% to 27%. So we're right in line. Some of these percentages look big, but the dollar amounts are small. So, that's why.
Right, that's this little squat.
Yep. And then coming down and looking at the expenses by department, we're actually just right in line with where we expected to be and right in line where we were this time last year. So nothing of note. This is where I wanted to start pointing out some stuff. So municipal services fund. So
Can you stop for just
Yeah.
a second before you go to municipal services? I still mean to get individual, they've had some transitions and they hired a new person out there to help Jennifer. Is that working out good?
yeah, Culture, Parks and Rec.
Yes.
I believe so. So Jill's out there right now.
I didn't mention names, but
Okay.
okay, that's fine.
It's Jill. And she's been helping out there a lot. They've been able to, so we've had a list of things and maybe I don't want to say this, but we have our priority of things that have to be done and things that we would like to do if we had additional time. And because of some computer projects and accounting, HR payroll systems that have been in place, those taken higher priority. So we've had all these little projects that aren't super critical, but things that we really wanted to get done. And with Jill out there, she's able to help Jennifer and we're getting through a lot of those projects that we just haven't been able to get to because while they're important, they're not absolute fire right at that moment. Does that make sense? So I'm really happy that Jill's out there. She's really good. She's doing good out there. She's been able to cross-train and come back and help our department. So I think it's working out well.
I'm glad to hear that, and I'm glad to hear that report on the things you'd like to get done, getting done too.
Yeah,
I'm anxious to see that interaction firsthand during the fair. That'll be super integral.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so municipal services fund. So this is our unincorporated areas, the city of unincorporated Weaver County. The one thing I wanted to point out is our licenses and fees. So last year we were at 70% halfway through the year because our revenues were coming in higher than expected. Primarily business building inspections, building permits. This year we're at 46%. So I went and looked at where we're at budget. That's okay, but the one thing I wanted to point out is we budgeted $1 million for buildings.
still way below,
Yeah, building permits,
yeah.
and we're gonna end up probably only 70% of that for the entire year. We're only at 42% of the year and we're already, 7 months into the year. What that is it's an indication that we're not building homes.
Right.
And while the building permit revenue is not that significant, the property tax revenue that comes off of the newly constructed and home that's added to the tax roll is. So while I'm looking at this and saying, okay, we're short $100,000 municipal services, that's not the issue. The issue is that's an indication of where we're at in our new construction,
Yeah.
new growth. And
That'd be reflected in new growth, but is a good share of our property tax base.
And I'm gonna hit on that in just a little bit, but I wanted to
Okay.
point that out is
Okay.
that our building permit revenues are down because it's expensive to build a home,
Yeah.
right? And interest rates are hard to finance homes. And you know.
Stan did say he's starting to see things trend up.
Mhm.
So we're much busier, yes. Yep, so getting through that first half of the year, he sees things trending up for the second half.
And I'm
Wonder how that, cause money is still tough.
Money's tight. I think people just finally realize that this thing's not gonna change overnight.
So I might as well
So
move now.
might as well, because construction costs are gonna keep going up, interest rates are not gonna soften anytime soon.
No, in fact, they were gonna, I listened to something on Fox the other day, they were talking about raising it another 0.5%.
Might see one more increase.
So I did listen,
Anyway.
go through an economic forecast and their argument was, this is Stifel, one of our they help us with our bonds. Their argument was interest rates are gonna go up at least another 2% over time because it's not having the effect on inflation that they were hoping.
Yeah,
It's
something,
starting to-
there's a massive imbalance or something.
Yeah,
They
we
sell-
still have
pretty
low
low
unemployment, and I'm gonna show that here in just a second. Still, it's low unemployment, and so wages are still being driven up. Inflation is coming down a little bit, especially on the building or corporate business side. Home inflation is still high, but it's still not down enough where they want us, so they're gonna continue to raise interest rates. They're still trying to tap the brakes.
I don't think that's too far off.
Okay, that's really all I wanted to point out in the financials. Let me see if there's anything else really quick. Transfer station, where I don't have any issues with the transfer station. Animal shelter, we're fine, and the garage. We're trending a little bit higher in terms of expenses, but we have revenues that are coming in and I'm not super worried about it. We're still watching it, so.
So the rest, transfer station, we're still okay.
Yep.
We're still okay.
Animal shelter. okay.
The animal shelter's okay. So that was the only reason I'm showing this is I just wanted to show you and have that little
Okay,
conversation
great.
about the
Good,
permits.
good.
Okay, so now we're gonna go on to the presentation that I normally show with updated numbers. So let me do slideshow start. Okay, so this is some of the economic data that I like to present every quarter, and I printed off. This actually comes from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. I don't generate this, but I like it. And so if you want, I can hand you a hard copy of these. I printed some. But here's a summary of it.
Yeah.
So unemployment is still stubbornly low. So we're at 2.6 compared to 2.3. It is still hard to get anybody to apply. It's still hard. We have lots of departments, even the attorney's office. I mean, where they used to get 30 applicants for a position, now they're lucky if they get.
Is that year over year?
Yes.
What is that? Okay.
Yeah, so the light blue is 2022, dark blue is 2023.
All right. Can't see that. All right.
Oh, yeah,
All
so
right.
that's 2023, that's 2022.
You still were able to lure this guy. Yeah. Under what kind of I don't know how you did that. It was Scott's sweet talking.
Yeah, so unemployment's still low. You look at the 12-month change in percent of, this is the employment cost index. So this is what it costs to have an employee. And the mountain region is still high compared to the United States. So it costs us more to get an employee than it does on average in the US, but it's still
Why?
I don't have a good answer other than our labor market is a little bit tighter here than it is in the United States.
Okay.
I know us specifically, health insurance has been driving up a lot of our costs and competition with other counties, but I can't give it an exact answer as to why. I don't know why.
Okay.
But other than to show you that it's high, right? We're still this 6% year over year cost increase. Okay, inflation, as we were talking about earlier, it's down from its peak. And the mountain and the United States were about right there, 2.5–3%. That's still higher than what the feds want, and it's disparate. So consumer inflation is higher than business inflation. Business prices are stabilizing more. Consumer prices aren't, and I can't give a good explanation as to why that is, other than that's what's happening. That's what we're seeing. So I showed this picture last time, but this is what the state, when they came out with their new sales tax estimates, they said their revenues are flat. And when they looked at the building permits, this is also data from the state, they were expecting, so they're expecting 3% growth in sales tax. We originally had budgeted 12. And they were expecting a decrease in about 24%. Right now, I'm actually thinking we're going to be between 25 and 30% down in Weaver County now. Hearing that it's coming up in the little quarter. I've been working with Eula Berry, who looks at the actual permits that have been pulled. But I'll talk to Stan too to see if why he's getting busier.
Yeah.
Beulah Berry,
Yeah.
Yeah. the one without the good hair.
Right.
Great shoes though.
Hey, do we have an actual for 2022
Uh,
on the dwelling unit?
So the state uses fiscal year data, so they go July to June. And so I pull it off them because they're better,
Okay.
but I can get that data. Eulaberry has it. We've been looking at it. I just
Okay.
put it on the slide.
I would thought 22 might have been a little stronger than that, but I don't know.
I would have thought that too.
Yeah. Okay,
That surprises me.
And Eulaberry and I are actually meeting tomorrow to go over the actual, because we're trying to come up with a revenue forecast for the next year with building permits. And so he's been looking at a lot of that. So I'll be able to give you some better data through through today or through tomorrow.
are you gonna talk about what he's looking at about on for appreciation rates for home? So he's looking at values. Does he think the values will be within that 3% range, value increase?
So when we talk about we don't, Eulaberry and we never really focus on the value because we don't care what the value is. If everybody's home goes up 20%, it doesn't give us any additional revenue.
Right.
So we focus more on the new growth, as in the new buildings, the new businesses, homes, because that's what's gonna drive our revenue. I can ask him tomorrow if you'd like, as
Well,
to the,
just be interesting because that's where we get a lot of phone calls, my home's not worth that. So it'd be interesting to see kind of where he's headed.
yeah, so,
Not that, and it doesn't make any difference in the bottom line, but it does when that taxpayer gets their notice and. Well, my home can't be worth that much.
my personal home went down 10%. I just got my valuation notice from Davis County's assessor's
really?
office. My personal home went down 10%. In value, not 10% taxes.
Yeah.
No, it's because it's not based on your value.
Correct, but the
I'm
value.
just talking
yeah.
total value.
Yeah. We did for our previous meeting with Jonathan Ward from Zions Bank, we were looking at property values for potential increases on taxes, and Zions Bank is predicting a small increase.
Yeah.
They're not anticipating large increases in home values over the next few years. So, yeah, I don't know if you saw that, but
Those valuations came out, what, 3, 4, 5 days ago? They landed, didn't they?
Did they?
22nd is when we wanted them to hit.
Okay,
Not that
a
one-
week ago. So I've got, mine are still in the envelopes, but I haven't had any, my point is I anticipated quite a few calls from county citizens and haven't had any yet.
Because values went down. At least mine went down,
Did
both
it?
the value and the tax.
And the tax went down?
Not a ton, but
Okay.
but maybe 5-7%.
Huh?
So better open mind.
I think commercial didn't go down as much as
Yeah.
residential.
Yeah, you may wanna wait.
I think I'll hold on. Yeah, I'm gonna wait. I don't need any more bad news.
I'll be happy to pick that up for you, show you what it is.
Yeah, go over, would you?
And when people call and ask about that, we did some analysis a couple of years ago. Property taxes go down on an average for an individual about 20% of the time. 80% they go up, about 20% they
20%,
actually
I didn't know
decrease.
that.
So 2 out of 10 years, you'll probably see a decrease or the same level of property tax amount.
Okay,
But not for all these truth and taxation deals.
Correct. And that's why it's almost always, 80%, it's going up.
Okay.
I think that 20% really relates mostly to wherever that property is located did not increase in property value as quickly as the rest of the county.
Yeah,
Maybe
So
that's
it's just
just
it'll catch up.
truth and taxation hearing there.
your neighbors paid for it. huh?
Maybe.
School district will have their hearing in a couple of days for their 60 million that they're short in their building project, so.
Is that this week?
That's this
I
week.
think it's Wednesday.
The second
There's a,
Wednesday.
okay,
All right, so moving on with our sales tax collection. So I wanted to show, as of the end of June, we were actually lower than the 2022 number in collections of sales tax. So 2023, January through June sales tax collections are below what they were in the previous year. So there's that red line represents 100%, represents the total amount we collected in 2022 at that year to date. So what that means is that our sales tax collections are down. Now, we did get the July data just a few days ago. I looked at it, and with that July data, we're right back up at about 100%, so we're about flat. But we have no sales tax growth is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now that's countywide. The municipal services fund, because of the formula they're using, they're actually a little bit ahead on their sales tax. They're 3 or 4% ahead. But the countywide, which drives the general fund revenues, is flat.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
Okay, so here is the cost of inflation. So this is from January 2021 through, it was through the end of November. Well, this is the cost of inflation on an average Utah household. I got this from the actual United States Senate website. So basically, they're estimating $5.47 per hour. If somebody working full-time is how much more they need to be making since January of 2021.
What, do they make $10 an hour or $100?
Correct, correct.
That's just the cost of inflation.
Just the cost of an average household with, and you can see how it's broken down, food, shelter, transportation, energy, and other.
Okay.
And I'm happy to send this slide to you, Commissioner, if you'd like.
When did that start? Is that?
January 2021 through the end of December 2022, basically.
Okay.
Huh. So 2 years, they need to be making $5.50 more an hour,
Correct.
just to stay.
Just to
par.
stay even.
Par.
Okay, so now what have we actually done?
What have we done?
So this is what you've done. So for somebody making $15 an hour on December 31st, 2020. They got a 2% increase in January, they got a $2 an hour increase in September, then 2%, 6%, 3%. This is what we've done. So somebody making $15 an hour is still behind on our lower end. We're still haven't even kept up with inflation. $30 an hour is just above that inflation number, and $45 an hour you can see is a bit more. But what that also means is that those people aren't really getting a big increase, like in terms of actual increase. They're basically just staying up or barely staying up with inflation. And the problem is our competitors, Davis County, for example, continues to get cost of living increases, and they're doing their merit increases. We've given one-time pay for performance bonuses, which I did not put in here because it's just one-time money. The problem is everybody's getting the ongoing merits, ongoing cost of living increases. And so they're starting to get further and further ahead of where our employees are, even though their pay scales aren't going up. They're bumping their pay scale up, and then they're bumping people up within their pay scale. Whereas we've just been bumping our pay scale up. And so what that's done is you've had your people who've been here 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years are basically making the same amount of money because we keep bumping the minimum pay scale up, but we haven't been giving ongoing pay for performance increases. So somebody who's been here for 3 years is making the same as someone who's been here for 1 year, other than they received 2 one-time bonuses for pay for performance.
We need to look at that this year.
We had that in elections with our 2 recent hires. They were earning the same amount as people who were there for 2 years or 3 years.
And it's not just elections. I mean, that's every department that's been hiring people, because I mean, this has been an abnormal time. I've never experienced inflation like this in my lifetime. I mean, I'm not that old, but I'm closer to the end of my life than the beginning, I'm afraid.
No, you're a long way from that.
That's because you weren't around when Gage's cousin Jimmy Carter was in the White House.
That's because, yeah, you weren't there when we had 18% FHA rate, so don't talk to me about interest rate.
81.
Yeah, I was alive in 81. I was alive in 80, so.
Yeah, but you weren't trying to feed a family.
I was not trying to feed a family. That said, I mean,
That's celebrate.
Sorry.
I was alive in 81.
Yeah.
that, all I'm saying is I think commissioners, you guys have done, and previous commissioners too have done a good job at trying to allocate money to help us keep up with this. And, once in a lifetime, at least for me, once in a lifetime event. The problem is that we're just getting behind, and you can see that with the attorney's office, and you can see that in different departments. I mean, we've done a lot to focus on the sheriff's office, and that they're not included in this because we've given them additional increases beyond that. But we're just, in terms of market, we're just not keeping up as much as we should be. I've talked to Sarah a little bit about this, and we'll come back with some different scenarios. I'm not making a proposal yet, but I wanted to show you some scenarios. So, okay, here's
Hold
what.
on, go back one slide just a second.
Okay.
So are you making a claim that we should do less in pay for performance and more in cost of living, or?
I would actually do the opposite. So let's just say, I'm gonna throw out a 9% number just to make it easy for 333.
Yeah.
So I would say bump up your wage scale by 3% for just the regular cost of living increase for the year. And then I would say we didn't do pay for performance, ongoing pay for performance for the last few years.
Yeah,
And so what I would say is if you did a 3% and a 3% to make up for those 3% that are ongoing, what that's going to, so let's say a total of 6% merit, 3% cost of living. That keeps your wage scale competitive with the market, but it also allows Mr. Hatch to go to his election workers and say, you're an awesome election worker. I'm going to pay you a lot more. And I'm going to bump you up further on that scale to catch them up on an ongoing basis with what their peers would be making in other counties or other cities. And that way you can reward your good performers. The people that aren't doing so well, they can get just a 3% cost of living increase. And if they leave to Davis County or another county, then we're okay with that because we want to keep the star performers. That allows a lot more discretion to the departments. Now, I haven't talked to Sean about that, whether that would work for him or not, but I think as a general rule, overall, my opinion would be keep the wage scale competitive, but let's bump some of our people up within the grades. Instead of bumping the grades up so high, let's keep the grades up just maybe 3% and let's bump people up within that grade. So they're still going to top out. If you've been here for, 15 years, you may not have enough room for a 6%, increase because you're topped out. And I'm okay with that too. If that's all the market's going to support, then that's fine.
One of the things that this slide does show, though, that there's more of a compression issue. Because on the top end versus the bottom end, the percentages are not, you're basically from that, let's just use the January 2021 15 base to the 45 base. That's about triple, but 445 is not triple of, 887 is not triple of 445. So percentage speaking, that adds a little more. So I like your idea, what you just presented, your 3 and 3. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
3, 3, and 3.
Yeah.
And you,
3 and 3.
You have to pay for it.
well, and we'll
You
get to
gotta
that in
pay
just a
for it.
minute.
Yeah, that's,
But you see right here where we did $2 an hour, which was great to help our lower end people, which was where we were really struggling. But
yeah,
what
we
that
did
also,
that to take care of that lower end.
Right.
well, we did because we needed to get the lower end up and we were more worried about the lower end than we were the upper end at
Yeah.
that point. But that's still a $2 an hour increase to someone who's making $45 an hour as a percentage wasn't very much.
No.
So yes, it's helping them keep up with the absolute minimum of inflation, but household expenses, if you're making $45 an hour, usually higher than household expense of $15 an hour.
Yeah, got it.
And then,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah, okay. So I just wanted to point out really quick, cost of social security inflation. This is what Social Security Administration has given
Look at that.
people over the
Wow.
last few years.
You better hurry up and get a social security. Yeah, it's a good thing.
Ours about there.
Yeah, are you? Serious.
So that just gives you an idea of where things have been at. And this 2022 number, I don't know what it's going to be for 2023, but if we had to make an argument to the public that one of the reasons why we're raising taxes is to fund cost of living increases and in pay increases to be competitive in the market, as long as I'm just going back to my memory of the 2016 tax increase where we really got hammered with going over the cost of social security inflation. And I think this shows that we're not asking for a whole bunch more. We're asking just to keep up with the same that everybody else, even the poorest of the poor who was on just social security got an 8.7% increase in 2022. And if we ask for something less than that, that helps at least in the argument that we're, just wild out of control spending. We're saying, look, we're just trying to keep up with the same thing that everybody else, the poorest and the most vulnerable got that.
I don't disagree with that.
But again, that's a political argument, so I'll step back a little bit from that, whether that's a good one or not. I just remember getting beat up an awful lot because of going over the cost of social security inflation. Okay, so I just want to peg some of these numbers in your mind. This is what a cost of a 9% increase, whether I did it at 3% and 6% or however, whatever the ratio is, $7.8 million. If I were to do a tax increase of 6%, I'll show you how that works.
Hold on. So that's just for salary.
That's for such, so this isn't tax increase numbers, this is cost of living increase or pay increase numbers. So if I wanted to give a 9%, which would be a 3% COLA and a 6% merit, I need to come up with $7.7 million total.
Right.
Through all my different revenue sources.
Let's call it 8 million. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, $8 million. So when I look at that and say, okay, well, if I wanted to raise my taxes, and we'll pop back and forth between these two slides, if I wanted to raise my taxes 8%, that's only going to generate $4.4 million. So a little over half of what I need to fund.
Yeah.
But we have the ace in the hole, and the ace in the hole is we didn't spend all of our ongoing money in previous budget years.
Thanks, Harv, for listening to me. That was my idea. You're right. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And also, it doesn't hit the funds equally, so Our Culture Parks and Rec Fund is doing well. They could afford a 9% increase without any property. They're not funded by property tax. Our Municipal Services Fund could afford a $367,000 increase without any additional property taxes because they're mostly sales tax. The library would be okay. That $800,000 would pay for a 9%. Sorry, if we were to raise taxes, let's say 7%, 6%, 7%, the library is going to be okay as well because their primary payroll, they're going to be fine. The two funds that I'm going to worry about are the general fund and the health department fund. The general fund will have a little bit of sales tax growth, not a ton, and we'll have to figure out where else we can kind of trim and cut. Plus our money we didn't spend from last year. So that one's going to be the hardest fund. The health department fund, they're primarily grant funded. They're a third. So third tax, third grants, third fees. They're going to have to either look at their fees or see if they can get the state to pony up some more money in grants. They're going to have a hard time affording that.
Yeah, but they've got a huge fund balance. At least they did.
They do have a fund
Huge.
balance. Well, huge is, okay. It's high. I wouldn't. It's not like our general fund. Our general fund's in a better position than their general.
Well,
But what we don't want to do is spend one-time money on an ongoing basis and
No.
burn down their fund balance over 5 years.
Agreed.
So
No question about that.
So if that's something that we want to do, the reason why I'm bringing this up now, and I wanted to show you, this is how much money we saved ongoing. So $2.5 million ongoing in the general fund that we have not spent.
Okay.
So we could add that to a tax increase of 6%, and generate. So if I added
Go
that,
back to your 6% number, yeah.
so if I
Well-
add another 2.5 to that, you're at 5.5 million and I only need 4.8 million for my general fund. Right?
Oh, I see where you're talking now.
But that doesn't take, well,
Well, just on that does, it makes it work.
It
You need
works for the
4.8.
general fund, yeah. And I'm okay with my municipal services, my library, my culture parks. So the other one I need to figure out is my health department. And they have their own rate, so we could,
I'd say health department could put on their own line item.
yeah. Well, so the county line item, the general operation, they all roll into the same
Yeah.
line item. And so when I advertise the truth in taxation, I have to advertise it in total for everything. So what I would do is I would say, if we did a 6% increase, we would do 6% on each line. Paramedic, health department, library, flood control. I would do the 6% on all of them. So it was a straight 6% across the board. And then we could adjust, if we don't want to put as much into flood control, we could put it into the library, but we would advertise the amount would be a 6%.
But then we could take those that we don't need and roll it into the general fund.
Yeah.
Well, or into yes, we could the general fund, but I was thinking the health department line. So the
Yeah.
health department line may go up by
Yeah.
7 or 8 or
When do you make
9%.
that adjustment?
So
You
on the actual,
advertise it as a 6% on every line.
so we
when
have
would
to
it
advertise it in
actually-
total. It's weird because the state makes us advertise it not on our individual lines, but on the line, the total of the line. So
The
we,
state- Sorry, the state considers us as one entity.
Right.
One number, one entity, and so when we put in the information on the percentage wise, it just comes out in total.
Right.
We do have individual lines that we then go in and put in the state's certified tax rate system. That we can delineate those out and modify those amounts.
yeah, so when you got your tax bill, you would see general operations line up 6%, health department up 10%, flood control up 2%. You know what I mean? But in total, it would be advertised as a 6% increase because
Okay.
the dollar amount would equal 6%, although it may not be evenly distributed between our 5 lines.
Right.
I was picturing that every line was showing 6%. I'm like, then how do you get it where you need it? But I know.
Yeah, no, because we have to summarize it for that ad. It's just the
Okay,
one line. So the
I'm there.
one ad total 6%. So that's what we would advertise.
Okay.
Although the application of that 6% wouldn't be even between our lines. And it would be transparent. We would show that on the property tax notice.
Right.
It would show which line got a little more and which line got less.
So health department might be at 10%.
Might be a
Flood
10%.
control might be at 1 or 2.
Yeah, and actually, I don't even know that we need to put more money into flood
Yeah,
control.
yeah.
But I think we would want to do paramedic because paramedic's asking for increases for cost of living the same as.
Well, and it may not be a bad idea to stick a little more in flood control just based upon what we saw last year, but again.
True. So that would be just.
Sorry, this is out of left field because my mind's going all over the place with some. How much one-time money do we have in municipal services?
Municipal services, Steph, do you have can you pull up the?
You know where I'm going
You know,
here?
No, I don't have a clue.
Snowblower.
I don't think we have enough to just outright buy one,
Yeah, I don't think we have that much.
but Scott.
I
can
love
answer.
left field.
If we wanted to do a big piece like that, let's just say 800,000.
Out there, you're talking snow. Come on.
You know why?
Yeah. Get your mind somewhere.
Wants to trade for.
Let's see.
I know.
So if you wanted to do an $800,000 snow blower, I would actually suggest financing that through a lease or something over a few years, just to keep the cash flow strong. Because if I were to spend $800,000 out of a fund balance, now that'd probably be half or more of that fund balance. That'd
Okay.
probably put us below our
So we gotta
reserves.
get creative.
Got a little something up my sleeve, you see that?
Yeah. We might get a deal on it if it's 102 degrees now.
Yeah, we could.
Let's order
Yeah, let's get it
That's
down.
what's order one.
Now's the time to strike while the temperature's hot.
But that said, if you can get it for $400,000, then I would say buy it outright. You know what I mean? So let's, if we need a snow blower, let's look at what the cost is and we'll just make
We
that
need a
decision.
brand new snow blower.
Does it have to be brand new?
Yes,
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
if I can save ongoing funds for one-time money, would you say to do it? If we,
I always prefer to spend one-time money and save ongoing funds,
just
yes.
checking and making sure the.
Yeah,
bottom-
yeah, no, we're the same,
There's the capper for it.
for municipal services. Okay, we have 5.4 million dollars in there right now.
One time.
Yes, but that includes the minimum fund balance at 2 months, so we're spending on average, would you go to the next page?
Yeah.
I mean, we want to say
Well,
one more.
We have an opportunity, maybe. We'll see. We're a long way from making a deal.
And then a year, so we want to keep
But at least we have an
3
opportunity.
million of that, 5 million. So yeah, about 2 million, I'd say 2 million available.
Chris can find a way to. say it.
Let's buy it.
Well, we're not, this would be a closed session, I think.
Yeah,
It would be.
Okay, if you want to finance a purchase like that, we could. Or if you want to just do it, we could figure it out.
Investment.
but we don't want to do it quite yet.
No,
Okay,
We got
we're
some,
not there yet.
we got some T's to cross before that.
okay, just let me know if you would, before you do it, so
Oh,
we
we
can
will.
make sure. that we do it.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be
You'll be
great.
the second to know.
Awesome. Okay, all right, so we talked about what that would look like in terms of a tax increase.
Okay,
The reason why I'm bringing that up now is that, John Bond, if we're going to do a truth and taxation hearing, the 1 year we mailed out postcards was an absolute nightmare. I would, please don't do that. I don't think we ever want to do that again.
Whatever you want.
No, we don't. That's what I'm saying. We don't. That was a lightning rod. It was, because not only did you get a tax increase, it was right there in front of your face. And if you own multiple properties, you got multiples. If we're going to do it, it's much, and it costs us $30,000, whereas if we put it with the tax notice, it's a lot cheaper, like a tenth of the cost.
yeah, no, we want to save that mail.
Yep, but I have to tell John Bond that I'm going to put an insert in there by the 1st of September so that the printer can order the extra 100,000 sheets of paper that he needs and they can get it lined up.
He's kind of a hard Eddie, isn't he? September, please.
For using a nice word instead of swearing.
Yeah, and then he also needs to know by the end of September, what dollar amount to put on that, because he has to upload the data file.
Wow,
So we would need a go, no go for truth and taxation hearing by the end of this month, August, or I guess we're still July. So by the end of August, we would need a go, no go for a truth and taxation hearing. And then by the end of September, we would need a not to exceed amount for that notice. The problem is that we're gathering our budget files they're going out in middle of August, they're coming back the week after Labor Day, so that's September. By the time we look at it and start presenting it to you, we're the last week of September, best case scenario. So we would already need to know the answer before we're even able to drill into the budget.
okay,
Does that make sense? So that's the problem with being a calendar year entity. We have to know our end result before we get to do the work. Now, we can always drop down that amount after we've done the work and say, we don't need a 7%, we can get by. Or maybe we say we need an 8% and we only are gonna do a 6%. I mean, we can do that.
Commissioner Harvey, there's looks like something on your mind here.
Well, not to pull a Scott Jenkins. Yeah, history?
Stay with us. We're,
Not to exceed 7% would be my vote right now.
it would,
Cause then we could drop down to 6,
I was thinking,
or maybe,
I'd rather go high and then give a pleasant surprise.
well, I kind of hope that's why I said 7, but maybe we need to go to 8.
Well, you're at 8.7, his analysis of social security, you got 8.7, we could do 8. And then drop
Yeah.
it down to 6.5.
This discussion.
6.7 or whatever.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't have a vote right now.
you don't?
No,
Why? Hey, how come?
it's July 31st.
All right,
Give me a minute.
okay, think about it.
All we need is before September. Or before, let's just say August 31st, right? Let's just say by August 31st, we need a go, no go for an insert. I don't need an amount.
Right,
I need a go, no go for insert.
Mr. Chair, I'm a go.
okay. Are you a go or no go?
Well, it's not August 31st yet,
Well, no, I'm just for a potential tax, truth and taxation,
and we have till August 31st.
okay?
John Bond needs a go, no go on before August 31st. So if you give him more time, he'd be happy, but it doesn't have to be today. That's what I'm
Okay.
saying.
Okay,
We already made that decision 2 or 3 meetings ago on today.
And I'm gonna adjust him back a little bit. If I've got data by the 15th of September, our computer program can pull, we've got to calculate the dollar amount for every parcel. And we just got to factor that into our other workload. We're actually implementing this week a brand new tax program for the first time since, who knows, 15, 20 years ago. So this is kind of like a big week for us.
well, I'd rather do it sooner than later.
We got a lot going on and the sooner.
I'd like to do, have a go, no go by mid-August, so,
I prefer the sooner the better, but.
yeah, I don't wanna hang you out to, then all of a sudden you're
It's gonna
scrambling.
be tricky and
Yeah,
sooner is better.
okay,
I'd like to see it before you go to Iceland.
okay. All right, that'll be the 10th.
And the go no go is not a public decision.
No.
It's not a public.
No, we know that. This is just go, no go. There's no amount of money on
That's
this.
just,
This
that's
is
just, so I'm gonna say,
paper cup.
I'm gonna say mid-August, go, no go on truth and taxation.
Mhm.
End of August, 1st of September on, is it 8%, 7%, 4%, or wherever it is?
6.3.
But I agree. I think it's always better to say, okay, anticipate that, and then, because nobody gets good news when they go into those truth and taxation.
Mhm.
And if we come out in the press and say, okay, up to 8%, but wow, we really fine tuned our budget, we've cut corners, we figure we can really scrape by with 6.75.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And that will buy us time before the hearing to actually go through our
Yeah.
budget cycle
Right.
and so. So what I want to do, commissioners, let's go down to this one. So tomorrow I am scheduled to talk to the department in the breakfast meeting, the department head meeting.
yeah,
I want to go over essentially the same presentation, if you're okay with that. I can pull out the slide of the tax increase and pull out the slide of the prior year budget savings. But I may even want to leave this in there because my intention is to talk to the departments and say, look, we need to focus on compensation this year. We hear you, we hear what you're saying. We're going to do that, but we need your help in order to do that. And so I'm going to go through and say this year in the budget file, I'm going to add a couple additional schedules. One is going to be the equipment replacement schedule. I don't want you to come back in a year or two and say, oh, I need this brand new piece of equipment that's not been on that schedule. So we've done it as a test case with a couple of Sean's
Good.
departments.
Good.
Every piece of equipment's listed. They give me an estimated replacement. Now, we're not going to hold them if it's a year off, but if it's a brand new snow blower that's never been on the equipment replacement list, we would say, why are you asking for this? Justify that. Otherwise, so that's the first thing. Second, additional requests, including new FTEs, merit increases, or any other ongoing or one-time money, which we've always done that. Capital projects, we're gonna have them fill out that capital project sheet that we talked about in our capital projects committee. You've seen it before. And then also, we're going through every line item. We're highlighting which line items they haven't been fully spending over the last few years, factoring out the COVID year, because that just kind of throws everything off. And I'm asking them, why do you need $45,000 for training if you've never spent more than $20,000?
Right.
And so I want you to identify areas where I'm appropriating money to you where you don't apparently need because you've never used it. And also, I'm going to use clerk auditor as an example. I want to know what services you provide and what services are statutorily required. So Ricky, your front counter provides marriage licenses. It provides passports. Why do we provide passports? Is it a statutory requirement? And does the cost of providing that service compared to the revenue that we get from that service, does that make sense? Do we need to look and ask the hard question, do we offer passport services? If it doesn't make money or at least cover its costs, unless there's a compelling public service reason to do it.
unless we're required to,
Right.
Yeah, statutory, or if you three want to do it
Yeah.
because of,
or if it makes sense. to.
yeah, then we would decide, okay, Mr. Hatch, I'm glad that you really like doing that, but we don't want to offer passports because it doesn't cover its costs.
Yeah,
Or increase the cost to provide the service.
Yeah, and we can't because passports mandate how much you can charge for them. So that's the question. Does it pay for itself? And I'd ask the same question on all the different services and have the transfer
Yeah.
station look through and say, look, we keep doing compost. Does compost pay for itself? If it does, then that's great, done. If it doesn't pay for itself, why are we doing it?
okay,
So that's what I want to
Okay.
put. So I want to explain this in the budget hearing
I like
tomorrow
that.
and go through, and I'll send out the budget files with the detail. I didn't want to go over that here.
So I think the idea is we'll know, look, you've had this 45,000 in your account. You haven't used any of it, or, you only used half of it. We're gonna basically, we used to say in the legislature, we're gonna zap that money.
Yeah, or tell me why you have it, like
Yeah.
monument preservation, I started to do this on some of
Well,
them.
I think we say we're gonna take it unless, I don't think we ask why you have it. I think we say, look, this is the number. Unless you prove to us that you need this, we're gonna take it.
Okay, and I'm fine with that, you know, and I tried to run through some of these things, like monument preservation, for example, surveyors. They haven't spent a good share of that for year after year,
Yeah,
but it's
no,
because their contractor didn't do the work, not because they didn't need the work.
If we
Does that
tell them
make
we're gonna take it, they'll come up with some good reasoning, or they won't, and then if we just say, tell us why, they'll come up with a million reasons why.
Yeah.
So,
So the budgetary savings, I can identify the different services that we're offering, and whether they're statutorily required, I'm gonna rely on the departments, because I can't tell you all the services that the sheriff provides and which ones are required or not.
I don't either.
Statutorily required.
Yeah, but that's what I want them to know, is list out the services and list out why you're doing them. So civil attorney, why do we do criminal defense? Well, that's gonna be pretty easy to justify as to why. Yeah, but are there different services like VOCA or victim witnesses, and are we getting grants to cover those? Why are we doing those? I mean, you don't have to answer them now. I'm just saying that's the questions that we want to ask.
Well, if I can prepare my attorneys to start looking at that, because every department has a statute. And if we can go through and highlight, and maybe we can prepare a list to circulate to the departments, to say, these are your essential functions. And then they can proceed accordingly.
Yeah, because we have over the years, and this is not bad, this is completely policy. We've added additional services to the county. I think the Center of Excellence is a specific example where we're not statutorily obligated to do it, but we've chosen to do it, and that's a policy decision. That's completely on you guys. But I just want to have all these listed out so that we know what we have to do, what we're doing because we want to do it, and if it's worth, if we feel that that's valuable and it's worth the taxpayer dollars, then that's your decision. I'm 100% behind you on that. I just want to have that out there so that we know what we have to do or what we could trim if we needed to.
well,
I
and
love
so there's two areas I wanna look at in that direct discussion. Center of Excellence being one, public defenders being the other. Are we, what are the outcomes? And again, show us the outcome, Center of Excellence, that we're putting this money in, and explain to us your funding source. And the same with public defenders. I mean, to me, that's the low hanging fruit.
Yeah, those are two.
And those are two areas we don't have, that we got into.
Yeah.
Plus, if you pull off that one coup on that deal you worked with the Olympics, I'll just leave it right at there. That could be another ongoing savings.
Yeah, next week I'll be meeting with a couple of people. Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. That's a great way to go to the public if we're gonna have a truth in taxation and show that we've done that with every department.
Yeah, agreed.
So are you comfortable with the presentation I just gave and giving that to the department heads? Is there anything you want me to adjust? I tend to be more forthright with you guys. I can try to filter myself better if you'd
I
like.
like it, except for the cost of living increases. I'm good.
So I'll pull off the cost of living increase slide. You don't want.
Well, I don't think, I would like you to say, commissioners are doing some very aggressive things, including considering having a truth in taxation hearing, raising taxes so that we can make sure our employees are made whole. Something
Okay.
like that.
Yeah, that's fine. So I'll pull off this slide then, the cost of living increase slide.
This is, yeah,
Just how about the one before that? Were you talking about that one too, Jim?
I don't think that one's necessary.
no, but I would like you to go back 2 or 3 to show them what they did get.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, so I was gonna show them that, but I was also gonna show them this and say we're aware that we're needing to address
Yeah.
compensation. And
I
maybe
think that's
just,
a fair one.
And we're addressing it.
Yeah.
yeah, and this shows that you've got, this shows what you've been doing. You've been doing a lot.
Yeah, go to the
Okay.
next one and see.
So I'll scratch this one,
Mhm.
I'll scratch this one, I'll scratch this one.
Yeah.
And then I'll scratch that one, and basically I'll just, okay, then I'll end with this one, which is what I'm asking them to do in terms of new
Great.
data.
So budgetary savings, you're gonna discuss just what we talked about.
Yeah, I'll have that discussion with them. And they'll get the detailed files that'll show specifically, so I just want to talk high level about it, saying, look at your file this year, please actually read the instructions this year and submit it.
We still got the CJC to worry about, on top of the ice sheet, on top of your parking tariff.
Well, yeah, but that's
Hey.
not ongoing. Shoot us. Those are one times.
The CJC,
Yeah.
well, we've got an ongoing, we gotta support them.
When are we gonna adjourn?
Whenever would you like to?
Before that conversation.
Okay.
That's all I had, commissioners.
All right. Barb,
Motion
motion in it for a while.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, okay. We're adjourned. Wait, are you done, Scott?
I'm done.
He said he was done, that's why.
You recognize me?
Okay, I recognized him.
I've been a victim of that myself.
Yeah.
On the dais. You people.
I was like, are you gonna call me out? When did I do this
He
to?
didn't call you out, no, I called out, I called it,
Were you in the?
created a show.
Yeah. Cancel us out there, Scott. All right.